Hello, it's a pleasure to be here and talk about something that I have discovered as very rewarding in my life. I've been home sharing for over 40 years now. When I first started out, I didn't realize I was home sharing. I was a single parent and in very low income, and I needed a little bit of extra money, and I had an extra bedroom. So that's how it started out. And I remember my first person that I home shared I was living in Halifax, and it was an international student from Germany, and she was going to the art college in Halifax at that time. And I think over the years, I've had dozens and dozens of guests in my house or home seekers. I consider myself a home provider, and those who come and live with me are home seekers. And together we build community or a kind of family, I think. I think that when we think of home share, it really is home. It's not a bed share or a room share, it's a home share. I have a dog and a cat, and when people come to view the room that I have available, I always watch the interaction of the dog, of my pets and the person coming. I believe that you can tell a lot about character by the way people interact with their pets. And now when my people who rent my house come home from school or come home from work, my dog barks and greets them and rushes out, wags their tail. My cat comes in and out with every person that comes and goes. And I think it creates a little bit of a family. And I have part of my family back here. Stephen came with me today, and he's an international student who's studying at NSCC, and he's studying nursing, and he's a wonderful person to share your house with. And I have a couple of other people with me as well. The advantages in home sharing are that you have the comfort of having somebody else in your house. I mentioned that I've been home sharing for 40 years, and about 2 years ago, for some strange reason, I had three people in my house at that time. And for some reason, it was a weekend, and they all went away. And I suddenly realized I was the only person in the house, and I felt uncomfortable. Because normally when there are people in the house, you hear water running or someone closes a door or someone goes in the house or out of the house. And so I'm aware that there's a community around me, that there are people around me. But suddenly for a 24-hour period, there was nobody there. And I didn't like that feeling. I had grown so used to having people coming and going in my house. Just perhaps an example of what can happen in a home share environment. A couple of years ago, I had a man in sharing my house, and he had a laboring job, made just about minimum wage, I think. And I live in an old house in over 100 years old. It's kind of a comfortable old house, but nothing grand. And I looked at it, and it had shutters, old green shutters, drab green shutters. And I drove by a house similar to mine. It had bright yellow shutters. So I thought I'd like to have bright yellow shutters on my house. So I spoke to the man that was staying in my house, and I said, would you be interested in taking down my shutters and painting them and putting them back? And I'll pay you $15 an hour for your labor. And he said he was. And so it worked out really great because I have a veranda. So he took the shutters down and he put the shutters on the veranda. He could work evening. There's a light in the veranda. If it was raining, he was protected. Some nights he'd come home from work and he'd work for 2 hours. Sometimes he wouldn't work for a couple of days because he had other commitments. But over about a 2 or 3 week period, he painted my shutters and put them back. And it cost me a fraction of what it would have cost if I'd hired a contractor to do it. And he made a little extra money, and the house looked a little better for him. So that worked out. That's just one of the many examples, a practical example. Something I'd like to mention, just as there are many ways of solving our housing challenges, there are many ways of home sharing. And there's the wonderful example that we were given this morning of completely sharing your house, of sharing your kitchen and your laundry and your everything is shared together. I have always followed a model where I have a microwave and a toaster oven and a mini fridge in the room that the person rents. So they do they prepare their own food, except that I sometimes cook a little bit extra and then I share it with other people. I have a bowl of fruit in the hallway that people can use. So that works really well for me. And so, and there are and I buy my toaster oven and my coffee maker at the thrift store. So for 14, 15, 20, or $20, I can get the supplies I need to set up a room. So if anyone wanted to set up a room for home sharing, it really doesn't require a big investment. And I think a lot of people who are seeking rooms like some privacy. Like they might want to, and of course they have internet, they might want to watch TV and have a coffee, and they don't necessarily want to wander through the house to do all of that kind of thing. I highly recommend it. It's worked out very well for me, and I think the best, I would encourage people to give it a try. And it can be, I strongly recommend students. They're wonderful because they're so committed to their studies. When they come home, they're not into the party mood, they're into their study mood. So and last night, as I mentioned, I had a young man move in, and he works with the St. John Ambulance. So that it's going to be very interesting because now Stephen is in the nursing program, and who knows, they might be able to strike up a friendship and build community. And I envy you for getting the support of the government, because I've been trying to get the support of the government for 6 or 7 years. I had several meetings with the previous premier, and he agreed that HomeShare was a wonderful idea. I've talked to so many people that they think that HomeShare is a wonderful idea, but nothing seems to have. We need a facilitator. We need to have somebody do the matching. And because not everybody is as brave and bold as I am to go on their own. I kind of learned how to do it the hard way, I think. But most people starting out would like some assurance that there is some guidance there. If there is a problem, it can be worked out. And I was on the board of a home share program in Grand Prairie, Alberta, and we had a facilitator, and she was a social worker. She worked half-time, and she was, for example, there was a senior lady who took in a man who was working in Grand Prairie, and they made an arrangement where she would cook supper for him every day. And so that was, he paid a little more rent and he had supper. And she sat down with him and they had supper together. Otherwise, she might not have been eating. There's not a lot of fun in cooking for yourself. And so by having somebody there that she could share her meal with, she got to eat the healthy meal, and it was good for her. So there are so many examples, and if you have any questions, I'll try my very best to answer them.